This is Adam again, the geneticist at Purdue Healthcare. So this is my second live video talking to you about fertility genes. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for your support last time. So because during my first live video, there was so many support from you. In fact, it's actually much better than we have anticipated. So today I'm going to talk to you about something very important, and it can be a massive worry for parents, and that is multiple miscarriage. Is it because your genes are no good? Well, let me be really frank with you. More than 50% of the miscarriages are in fact due to DNA, one way or another. And of course, the other 50% could be due to all sorts of factors, anything from the uterine lining not being thick enough, or due to nutrition, anything else, And I believe that Dr. Terence are making, quite a number of videos on miscarriage, especially chemical pregnancy and all that. So please do go and review all those videos as well. They are very useful, and you can pretty much, other than just genetics, you can use those information to help you plan your fertility journey. So today I'm going to talk to you about miscarriage from the perspective of genes. Right, so let me give you a little bit of a background knowledge in genetics, because it's going to be very difficult for you to understand what am I going to say next if you don't understand about genes. Now, for those who have watched my previous live video, you know that this is DNA. But anyway, for those who haven't watched my live videos before, let me explain to you what are these exactly. So, this is the shape of our DNA. Now, every single level of this twisted ladder contains information on how to make us. So, for example, our hair color, our skin color, what kind of talents do we have, and whether or not do we get any genetic diseases such as cancers are also recorded over here. So, where exactly are our genes? In fact, every single one of our cells will contain our genes. For example, motor neurons, the cells that controls our movement. So if I were to do this movement, it is actually controlled by the motor neurons. And of course, sperm cells, egg cells, they do contain our genes, right? And then bone cells, basically every single one and each type of our cells. So if we were to chop one of those into half, it looks very complicated. But don't worry, today we will focus on just this golf ball, yellowish golf ball-like structure, and it is the command center in the cell. So within there, we will see chromosomes, and chromosome actually contains our DNA. So it is sort of like a commander in the cell. So what's the relationship between chromosomes and DNA? How is that different in levels? Well, if you can have a look at this picture over here, DNA, or so-called genes, are packed within the chromosome. Okay, if you can imagine a ball of strings, if you were to untie it, then you can snip a section, then you can go and tie something. It actually works the same for the DNA. Right, and just to share a fun fact with you, in order to make a human being, we only need 4 ingredients. And that will be the G, C, A, and T. You don't have to remember these, but I would like to share with you that in our human body, there are more than 3.2 billion pieces of these GCAT combination. So, in fact, you can say that, human being is quite complex, but, simple in terms of the number of ingredients needed. Anyway, all right, in a healthy human being, we need 23 pairs of chromosomes. Okay, one comes from dad, one comes from mom. Right, even then, these have to be symmetrical. Right, even including their patterns. I'm not sure whether you can see this picture quite clearly. You can go to Google and you can search human chromosomes, and you can have a look at those as well. So you might be able to see the grayish area and the blackish area and whitish area. So they must align to each other. Otherwise, it's going to cause a lot of problem, like I will be sharing with you in a very short moment. Right, so from the first pair of chromosome all the way to the 22nd pair of chromosome, what I've said just now will apply. But when we come to the last pair of chromosome, and that's called the sex determining chromosome, if you have an X and a Y, you would be a gentleman. If you don't have a Y, you have two X's, then you are a lady. So that's how we can tell, based on genetics, between a gentleman and a lady. Right. So now, coming back to our main theme, what actually causes miscarriage from the standpoint of genetics? Now, there are two ways of how this can happen. In summary, the first way is that it happens just spontaneously. Spontaneously means that it is unexpected. There is nothing really you can do about it in order to control how it actually spontaneously happens. You can only lower down the risks. Okay? So the second way is through inheritance from parents. Now, let's talk about the first one. And in fact, I would like to show you this IVF report. You don't have to be very serious about it. Let me tell you some more details. So here, it says a grade G embryo. Now, if this is your SPM grade, then it's not very nice. But in terms of an IVF report, this actually means good grade embryo. But if we were to have a look at this section over here, the results, it says that there's something wrong with the 45th chromosome because it has another, it has got an extra piece of chromosome in there. And in the middle, it says plus 11q23.3. What a jargon. But if you translate that into human language, it actually means leukemia. And leukemia means blood cancer. And then the last piece of information, we have minus 22. So what does that mean? Minus 22 is because there is one less chromosome less on the 22nd pair. So guys, have a think about this. If we were to implant this embryo back into the wife's womb, do you think that this baby will survive? Right. I think majority of the answers will be no, it can't, because how can somebody live with 3 genetic problems? But let me tell you some more information about their parents. So their parents are completely normal. You can't even judge by looking at the way they are, and you can tell that they have something wrong with them, nor do they have any family members with blood cancer. So this is purely spontaneous. And in this case, how can you control the risks? So the solution is, of course, to strengthen the sperm and the egg's health, or in other words, strengthen your reproductive health. And one way to do that is, of course, via the treatment of traditional Chinese medicine. And of course, you should find a qualified physician in order to do that. And even still, you should adopt healthy lifestyle, such as sleeping early, eating on time, eat healthily. In fact, in the next 2 weeks, I'll be doing another live session after Dr. Terence to tell you how can you use the most natural way in order to increase your fertility health. But anyway, as you might know by now, Dr. Terence is a very competent physician for the treatment of infertility, and she does actually help infertile couples or any couples facing fertility problems to enhance their health so that hopefully they will get higher chances of getting pregnant naturally. So just in case some of you are not very familiar with the idea of using traditional Chinese medicine for the increment of fertility health, actually, I've got an article here published by one of the top universities in the United States of America, Johns Hopkins. Right, so why are they writing this article? It is because they recognize the role of traditional Chinese medicine in increasing the general health. Alright, and of course, when you increase the general health of a person, it also means that the fertility health will be increased as well. Right, so in fact, Johns Hopkins University recognized Chinese medicine so much that they themselves are providing this service at one of their hospitals. Right, so just in case if you haven't heard of Johns Hopkins University, they are the second best university in the United States for the study of medicine, right after Harvard and before Stanford. Right. Anyway, but of course, speaking of universities, it's already quite out of scope for our live session today. Let's get back to how you can prevent miscarriage next time, or at least try to do so. At Vanua Healthcare, when we treat our clients with herbal medicines, we don't just give it away without having scientific proof of what positive impact it can do to your health. So over the past 17 years, we have got quite a number of working partners. The most typical ones would be Path Lab, BP Lab, Gribbles, and Sonovision. So these partners, what do they do for us? Okay, for every course of treatment, which is 3 months, okay, the couple will go to either Path Lab or BP Lab to do a complete blood and hormone assessment, and that assess how the fertility health is improving. Right, and then if let's say there are some couples who has got, for example, blocked fallopian tubes, under this circumstance, we will have to send them to IVF centers. And so right after the treatment, it will increase the chances of an IVF success. And that's what we call IVF preparation. But I think I will do a video on this as well later on. Right. Anyway, so let's move on to the second, most common causes of miscarriage. And that will be genetic mutations inherited from parents. Now, just in case if I haven't made it quite clear last time, I would like to use more data to prove what I'm saying. So the University of Chicago Medical School actually mentioned that human carries at least 1 to 2 genetic mutations on average, and if those mutations were being inherited from both parents, it can either cause a miscarriage, it can either cause stillbirth, or at least, when the baby is born, by any chance, it can cause severe genetic disorders, or even death before reaching the reproductive age, meaning 18 years old. So this is something very serious. Let me share with you a report of one of our real clients. So what happened is that his wife experienced 3 miscarriages, and he would like to find out why. Is it his problem? Is it his wife's problem? So both of them, they came to Dr. Terence, and Dr. Terence referred them to me since it's a spontaneous miscarriage. So I've arranged for them a karyotyping. Right, so what does that mean? It means the sequencing of chromosomes. So what happens in this test is that we scan every single one of those chromosomes and to see if there's anything wrong. And for this case here, the husband has got something called the balanced reciprocal translocation. Well, another jargon, what is that? So this is a normal chromosome, okay, one short, one long. So if we were to refer to that husband's case, this would be chromosome number 2, this will be chromosome number 6. So a balanced reciprocal translocation means that these chromosomal materials have been swapped around. So this is before the translocation, everything is fine, but after the translocation, oh, dear me, have a look at this. Why is there a green chromosome here and an orange chromosome? Of course, this is an illustration, but it gives you an idea about, even though that there are no gains or losses of genetic materials, and by the way, even if you get more genetic materials, it doesn't mean that you are healthier. In fact, it often, will make you sick. So then, if you don't have any losses or gains of genetic material, you will look fine, right? At least, from the outside. But if you were to give birth, or if you were to help your partner conceive, okay, there will be a 50% chance of miscarrying. And that's quite high. Would you take this gamble, my friends? I don't think so. So under this circumstance, the only way is to send this couple to an IVF center. And when the IVF process began, so what happens is that when blastocysts, meaning to say that the sperms and the egg are being fused together, so they will be put in a culture, meaning to process this, fused sperm and egg. And then after 5 to 6 days, this fused egg will become will become an embryo. So remember that word, embryo is a very important word for the rest of our video. Right, so this embryo, when it is being formed, what's going to happen is that the embryologist will take one cell within the embryo for a testing. Okay, so the testing will look similar to the ones that we saw just now, where you see the lines of the chromosome. But anyway, so what happened is that this couple, they finally were able to get a healthy baby boy. But let me share with you another case on the wife's side. Okay, so just now it was the chromosome materials being swapped around. But what happens if you have the entire chromosome missing? And this is exactly what happened to one of our clients. So this lady over here, as you can see that this is similar to the chromosome that I've illustrated just now. Right, so supposedly there is one more chromosome over here. It's either Y or another X. But that's it. This is what the wife has got. And so this is called the Turner syndrome. Now, Turner syndrome, on the more serious end, you can have no reproductive organ. Even the most superficial reproductive organs, you could have been lacking of those. But anyway, this particular lady that I saw, she looks normal. Okay, so that's why I'll ask her, ma'am, have you experienced any irregular menstrual cycles or anything abnormal? She said, no, Adam, I'm totally fine. But anyway, she failed 3 IVF cycles. So the reason was that they haven't gone through embryo genetics screening or selection, so-called. So when they put the embryo back straight away, after it has been formed, then as you can guess from the case just now, even if it is a spontaneous mutation, the baby will not be able to survive. And especially now, the baby had some, genetic mutation being inherited from the parents. Right, so if that's the case, what is the solution? Right, so there's one particular solution to this, which is via genetic testing. Okay, but what kind of genetic test do you need? Do you need just the lineup of the karyotyping, or do you need to look into something deeper than that? Right, so that's why you need proper genetic counseling, and that is done via Vadua Healthcare. Right, and then afterwards, when we receive your results, we will need to see whether or not if this is a spontaneous mutation or if it is something really inherited from you. So if it is something spontaneous, actually you don't really need IVF. All you need is just to boost up your reproductive health, and you should try natural fertility one more time. But if it is something already in you, like what University of Chicago has mentioned, that there are some hidden bad genes inside you, it's okay, you don't have to worry. Please don't blame yourself, please don't blame the parents. We can do this in a very systematic way. So as an illustration, let me explain one more time. When the eggs and the sperms get fused together, all right, this is called the first fertilized egg, and then soon afterwards it will become a blastocyst, and then when it gets cultured, it will become an embryo. So when the embryo is being formed, there will be a needle that poked inside the egg, and then you can extract one of the cells within the embryo to go for the genetic screening. So for those who don't pass the test, we can't actually amend the genes. Okay, so many of you might get the wrong perspective that after this genetic selection, we can do some sort of gene surgery to remove the bad genes and put something good back inside. We can't do that yet. So the only method is to not implant those who had bad genes, but implant those with the ones that are good. Anyway, so speaking of qualified genetic counseling sessions in Malaysia, in fact in the world, it's quite rare. So that's why a lot of people, they have a misconception that doctors, they are automatically trained to speak of genetics. That is absolutely wrong. So even I myself, as you might have known already, I studied histology and pathology from Tsinghua University, and I've taken my studies in pathophysiology with Peking University. However, that still doesn't give me the qualification to speak of genetics like what I'm doing with you right now. I have to take one step further in genetics, the trainings in genetics, before I'm able to do that. Right. Because explaining the report is one thing, but what would be the solution afterwards? That's the most important thing. So now we have gone to a stage whereby if, let's say, some of your family members have cancer, then because all cancers are definitely genetic diseases, and if it is a genetic disease, it can very well pass on to your next generation. So imagine a mother who has got breast cancer, and then she was being tested, and then she's been confirmed with breast cancer genes. And this breast cancer genes, there is a 50% chance of it being passed on to the daughter or the son, right? If it is really a daughter, then this girl, throughout her lifetime from 1 year old to 70 years old, there will be an 80% chance of her getting the breast cancer and 40% chance of her getting ovarian cancers. So this is exactly the reason why you need genetic counseling if you were to go for genetic tests. You need cancer prevention methods and also how you can prevent these cancer genes from being passed on to your next generation. We can do that via the embryo genetic screening. Right. And so, oh, by the way, just one thing before I forget, embryo genetic screening, it's so-called PGD or PGS. So if you can remember these two terms, that'll be great. So anyway, cancer genes, it's something, of a subspecialty from genetics, and we have to get another training for it. So, right, speaking of concluding all these things that we have talked about today, just remember one thing. Your genes determine your baby's lifetime health, and even to prevent miscarriage. So you must understand, and also must understand how miscarriage works and how you can prevent it to the best that you can. Right, so that comes to, again, the conclusion for today's live session. Please post any comments and any questions in the comment section. This video will also be uploaded to YouTube, so just in case if you want to revisit any concepts that I've spoken about just now, and if you would like to see consultation with us, please give our healthcare executives a call and we will answer your question to the best of our capabilities. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead.